the DORK podcast. Rich Keefe, it's the DORK podcast. Keefe Davey, it's the DORK podcast. Hashtag, it's the hashtag DORK podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Hashtag Dork. My name is Rich Keefe, joined as always by Davey Eyeballs. He is Ruku Von Dooku. All hail the king of ginger ale. It's Ryan Davey. Davey, how are you?
I got to tell you, man, I am having all sorts of a day. So if you notice, if you're watching the YouTube, I am in a different setting right now I'm actually on my cellular telephone because it's the first day of Thanksgiving break and the school decided to shut down and reboot the internet systems and some of their electrical systems just to do maintenance. We get an email later this afternoon, someone screwed that up, and so we don't have any internet, or the building I'm sitting in right now has no heat. Okay. So it's been and you notice I sound a little, I have this like ridiculous like chest cold right now too. So it's been a day, man.
It's been a goddamn day. So
can you believe it?
You got no internet, you got no heat, you got no cable television.
I can't really breathe.
It's not great, Ryan.
No,
it's not great.
I cough. I'm going to be coughing throughout this entire podcast, just to let you know. But thank God for LTE. Thank God for 4G. You know?
How'd the move go?
As smoothly as it could go. I'm very excited to show everybody the bullpen like 8.0 at this point. I think we're what iteration of the bullpen are we on right now? I have no idea, but
I'm not sure. We're looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, so that should be done. I'll take everyone on a tour on the much anticipated Behold My Stuff.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, all right. We look forward to that, Ryan, very much, and thanks for grinding through it. Let's get to the news.
This week in DORK. Yeah.
After 11 seasons and 177 episodes, The Walking Dead has come to an end. The series finale aired last night on AMC. Now, there are going to be spinoffs, so it's not like this show is, for lack of a better word, completely dead. We're going to see some of these characters going forward, but I mentioned this on Twitter the other day. This is a wildly impossible show to rank amongst television shows, because I think for a while there was nothing better. There's nothing I look forward to more than The Walking Dead. Then there were multiple seasons where I just fell out of it altogether. I wasn't even watching it live because it got real bad. Then my brother-in-law told me it got good again, so I got back in. He was right. I think it was season 9 was great, and then 10 was okay. Kind of was funky shooting with the pandemic and everything, and then 11 I think at least kind of closed it out pretty well. But I don't know if there's a show that has had so many episodes that I've seen all of them, because like Simpsons, for example, completely bagged out of Simpsons a while ago. Maybe South Park, South Park, but 177 hour-long episodes is pretty insane. But
that's intense.
I watched it all.
I am so disappointed in you. You said this show is very much alive and didn't make like an undead joke. I feel like that's a missed opportunity.
I said it's not dead. Undead.
You said it's not dead. You could have said it's undead.
Well, Ryan, The Walking Dead are actually you and I. The Walking Dead is not the zombies.
They never. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
the call was coming from inside the house.
We're The Walking Dead at that point because the world has been kind of shut down. I'm kind of annoyed that they announced a few of the spin-off shows before this one came to an end, because you're like, oh, those characters might end up being fine. But I think it was still emotional. They still pull on the strings a little bit. I think it was a lot because they realized they had so much to kind of conclude that it was a pretty daunting task. But I read every issue of the comic book, watched every episode of the TV show. I'll probably dabble on the spinoffs. I don't know if I'm going to commit to all of them. Like Fear the Walking Dead, I only watched the first 2 seasons and then I bailed. That show's still going on, for God's sakes. There's a lot of content in the Walking Dead universe.
And wait for them to like stick it out. I mean, remember there was like vampires were the thing, and then it was like zombies were the thing for a while. They just plowed through, just kept making this show. It's pretty remarkable when you think about it.
Are you ever going to go back and watch this?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Watch everything. You
can't. No, that's true.
I will watch The Leftovers before I watch The Walking Dead, because the Leftovers, what, 3-4 seasons?
3.
Yeah.
Much easier to digest. But This is a show like early on in the Dork podcast. I remember Josh Deering and I talked a lot about The Walking Dead. So I know it's a show people listening to us watch. I'm curious how many of you guys stuck it through and if you enjoyed it or not. So dorkpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet us as long as Twitter's still alive at Dork Podcast. Let us know your thoughts on The Walking Dead.
I was going to say, Twitter. Well, who knows if Twitter's a zombie of itself at this point next week?
Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
A show that is in season 1. There's going to be 2 seasons of this, and it's going to wrap up next week. Or no. This week it's going to wrap up, so it'll be our standalone episode next week. That is Andor. So back-to-back Star Wars episodes here for us on the podcast. But how caught up are you on Andor?
I am current with Andor. This is a polarizing show, and I am very much I'm on one side of it.
Interesting. See, I don't know how Paul. I feel like
that's called a big market tease.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what you think about it next week. I feel like it's been almost unanimously liked. I feel like people are really loving the show, getting all kinds of good reviews, feedback, stuff like that. There's a lot to talk about in the show, so I'm actually looking forward to the. We talk about it, or did we even do a standalone on the first 3 episodes, or we talked?
No.
Oh,
we talked about it, but I think you mentioned that like the first 2 episodes were a little slow and then it started to pick up.
Yeah.
So I think we mentioned it. We didn't like talk about it, but it was I remember saying something to the effect like I liked the direction it was going. I liked the character development. I like seeing, and again, without giving too much away, how revolutions are funded and how like those types of things happen, and it's not as cut and dry as you think it is. So that's what I think is like the best part of the show.
Story of rebellion. If you like rebellion, obviously you do. If you like Star Wars, that's the whole thing. So yeah, Andor next week. Looking forward to that. Paramount TV is gonna make, or maybe this is actually a movie, A Quiet Place Day One, with Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn, who of course was Eddie in the last season of Stranger Things. I didn't care for the first 2 movies at all, but it looks like we're gonna get maybe like a prequel version, and I like these 2 very much, so I'll probably watch this, but I have low expectations.
So I'm interested because the whole thing is like you're not supposed to make any noise, and so if it's day 1, just think of like the panic that's going on, and have people say like just don't move, don't make a sound. They'll just keep going. If you're just hiding, like they won't find you.
Yeah,
like, but just say like
figure that out at first. Somebody has to be the first one.
Yeah.
And yet that was what was so weird was like in the first one when they were looking at like all these like newspaper headlines about what was going on. I'm like, sure you'd be able to like print those all out and distribute them all.
Yeah, like who's sitting there in like the newspaper office with a loud printer?
Yeah. That guy's smoked. That guy's fucked.
Yeah.
How about this? We don't know much about it, but Quentin Tarantino is going to do an 8-episode TV show where he's going to write and direct all 8 episods. I don't even really know what it's about, but I feel like Tarantino getting involved in TV seems pretty sweet to me.
And he said this on Tom Segura's podcast, and Tom Segura was like, "Can I be in it?" He's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
So God only knows what it is. It's got to have something to do with like,
I don't know what it is. It's funny for him, and he also was in a interview that he did recently too, was saying how it's the worst time in all of cinema right now.
I get why he's saying that.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree, but like from his point of view, like there's really nothing you would call in the video game like IPs right now. There's no like independent properties. There's nothing that hasn't already been done before. It's either a sequel or a remake or whatever, so to have like a really original idea and bring it to screen is super difficult right now, I think.
Yeah, Matt Damon had like the best answer I've ever heard on all of this, where he was asked about it, and he basically broke down how much it costs to make a movie, then how much money you need to make in order to actually make money on the movie. And it's this whole thing about like they're so less likely to take chances on certain things, and that's why you do see like the big budget movies are still being made because they know they're going to make the money back on Black Panther or whatever.
Right.
Like he had this whole example of how you do it, and like just these movie studios are so afraid, like, well, we're not going to take a chance on that. And then I think it's also affected movies across the board. Like, I think the Oscar movies aren't as good. Like, just nothing is as good. So I get what Tarantino's saying. Like, and that's not just piling on like Marvel and DC. Like, those movies are great, but it's like the other ones too. Like, it's not a very good time.
But I also see his point of view too, where he's a guy who loves to kind of push the envelope a little bit. And it's not really the time to do that right now. Like, guy loves using the N-word in his movies. Like, probably don't want to do that anymore.
Keep it.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is the safest space for Quentin Tarantino right now, but
It's gotta
make a movie, make a TV show.
Yeah, HBO, or I can't imagine him getting in with Netflix, because I don't think he even said where it's gonna be, right? But it's
No, he just says it's written and he wants to direct it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And you got to believe that HBO would take a flyer on that, right? Just name alone, you're going to get viewers for that. At least the first episode. If it stinks, 100%. People will tune out. But
yeah, they'll give it a shot. Jordan Peele's Nope is currently streaming on Peacock. I watched this. Not great.
I just, too much, too fast for him. Man, he was the darling boy of a hot minute, and then someone said, so we were playing kart last night, and I forget, was it you who asked or somebody else who asked? It's like, is he the new Shyamalan? And I think no, because someone asked it, and you said kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's a small sample. So Shyamalan at this point has now made a bunch of movies, so he has more of a swath. Like, he has A+ movies, he has B movies, he has C movies, he has F movies. Like, he's kind of all over the place now because he's made enough of them. Yeah. Whereas Jordan Peele's really only done 3 movies. Like, he wrote and I think produced Candyman, but he didn't direct it. Yes. So he really just has Get Out, Us, and Nope. And Get Out
was an executive producer on The Invisible Man.
Maybe, but like, I don't count.
Like, he was,
yeah. You can tag your name on it, but like, really, his movies, he has 3. And Get Out was great. Us was terrible. And this is probably more in the middle. In fact, like, the first hour or so of this movie, 45 minutes, it's like a 2-hour and 10-minute movie. First 45 minutes, you're like, this is gonna be pretty good. I don't know why people didn't like this. And then the rest of the movie happens. And
what is the perfect amount of time for a horror movie?
Probably just 90 minutes.
90 to 100 minutes. Hour 40 is like the perfect amount of time.
Although you could argue whether this is a straight horror movie or not. Like, there's also that.
No, but like Barbarian was like an hour and 22 minutes.
Yeah. Terrifier was like an hour.
They like ran out of money. They're like, we can't afford any of them. Yeah.
The movie's
too much cornstarch. Yeah, too much cornstarch. We can't afford it anymore.
We're done. The Enchanted sequel with Amy Adams, Disenchanted, is currently on Disney Plus. Have you seen it?
Parts of it. By the way, I meant corn syrup before anyone comes after. Corn syrup is they use for fake blood. I watched, my wife and daughters were watching it because my wife loves the first one and my daughters had seen it and loved it. And so they were watching it and I was kind of poking my head in and out as I was unpacking boxes. So it was looked okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Star-studded.
I'll check it out. I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Ryan, we sadly have some sad news to pass along.
Pick of the pod.
Pick of the pod.
Pick of the pod.
Pick of the pod.
That's right. Not one, but 2 pick of the pods this week. One, Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, passed. You and I weren't Power Ranger guys, but it doesn't mean he didn't die.
Doesn't mean he didn't die. Doesn't mean that people don't care. But
right.
Sad state of affairs.
And also, sadly, the actor that was in the Dan Flashes episode, Doug, who is giving Tim Robinson the absolute business there.
Fucking skunk.
Great sketch. You fucking skunk. He's using his per diem to buy shirts. That guy crushes it in that sketch, and he sadly too passed away since our last episode,
which is a shame. And one of my favorite lines from the show, which is kind of a throwaway line, where he said something about eating Doug's mom's wig, and he says something to him, and he's like, "I'll eat her whole fucking head. I don't care.
I don't fucking care.
Eat her whole head. I don't fucking care." So I'm sad for Doug. So we've lost 2, Professor Uribe and Doug.
Give me that.
Sad. Sad state of affairs.
Protect Biff Whiff at all costs at this point.
Oh my God, seriously, that guy.
Mhm.
And by the way, people have sent us. He's on Cameo. Biff Whiff is
Good.
probably money well spent.
He's printing fucking money on Cameo right now.
He is.
Yeah.
All right, let's turn this around a little bit. That was sort of a sad, but we had to report it. Listen, it was in the news. We're going to report. We're not going to not tell you about the Green Ranger, but I got something else for you, Ryan. That's right. Should I have bought this? Brought to you by 47 Brand. It's the holiday season. Go to 47brand.com, enter the promo code #DORK at checkout for 25% off your entire order. Let's say you put together a bunch of hats, maybe some sweatshirts, maybe some shirts. You ended up spending $437.27. You enter the promo code #DORK at checkout. Guess how much you save, Ryan?
Hang on. You said $437?
Yeah.
20% off of that.
25% off. And you're well over the free shipping threshold, so you don't have to pay that fucker to drive it out. Anyway.
You save yourself $109.25.
Oh my God. That is like
Spend the more you save.
That's so many free hats is what you got there.
Free hats.
All right, Ryan. So this is obviously a visual aid here. So if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to be able to see it right away. If you are listening to it, though, I will have Ryan describe what this item is. Again, you can send it
on my phone screen.
dorkpodcast@gmail.com. Let's pull this one up here.
Yes! Yes! Fuck yeah! What are we looking at right now? We are looking at Richard Francis Keefe III with a big old smile on his face, holding a God of War Ragnarok edition of a PlayStation 5. Holy shit!
Yeah, that's right. It's been secured. It's been secured.
This is how we do it. This is how we do it.
I actually had multiple people DM me and be like, "Hey, I'm staring at a PlayStation right now. I can get it and send it to you if you want." And I was like, "Actually, I just got it myself." I think it was IGN Deals tweeted out, "Hey, they got a whole bunch of them right here at some place." And so I logged on and like half expecting to put it in my cart, check out, have it be like, "Oops, something happened, something went wrong." And then I kept like putting in my info, and then it was like, "Thank you for like confirmed," like send you an email. I was like, "What?" So then I got it. And so yeah, $550, but it's the PS5 with the God of War Ragnarok code. And we're cooking with gas. I plugged it in yesterday, played about an hour of God of War, downloaded Overwatch. I'm cocked, locked, and ready to rock over here.
So there are some games too that you'll figure out that have been updated for PlayStation 5 that you already have. So that's
awesome.
Great. But yeah, how about those load times, huh? Non-existent.
Humming. Oh, we're humming right now.
What'd you think of God of War so far? Did you play the first one?
You know what? I thought I did, but I don't think I did. For some reason, I thought I played God of War. I must have been thinking of a different game because I watched like the beginning, like the previously on. So I watched that, caught me all up, and now I'm playing. I'm like, I feel like I recognize it, but I also don't. So I think this is new to me. But I'm like an hour in and love it. It looks
so
amazing.
good. It's so good, and it only gets better. And we'll forego the video game minute right now just because I haven't touched any video game system really, except for last night. 2 wins in the Mario Kart circuit, the DSG Mario Kart circuit for your guy last night.
No, good job.
I'm just too good.
Yeah. We had a lot of Bowsers in the track.
A lot of Bowsers. So you got to go heavy. But I was playing that game the other day, and I mentioned it to you last night, but the listeners didn't hear it, is that I got my first, was mentioned, but not seen. So it's not a spoiler, but one of the characters mentions Scotty. So
Scotty.
I was very excited.
Great.
Now, if you want to learn more about Norse mythology, there's this guy who he's actually the biggest stiff in the world. Like he's one of those guys who probably wore a fedora and called women milady all the time.
Or even the Romans or Greeks.
But way more pretentious and obnoxious.
Yeah. Josh was
if you say a D with putting your tongue between your teeth. Like that's I hear it now. What that woman was saying, it's Scotty or Scotty. It's like like Scotty. So that's like Odin is like Odin. Like a weird D. There's like an accent on the D. It's
Got
super
it.
weird. You probably can't even hear me do it right now, but it's just like
Yeah.
weird. Yeah. But yeah, they say it like that, and I think it's Scotty.
Scotty. Yeah. Scott. You can call me
No,
Scott.
Scotty. Yeah.
I got it. I heard you. I think I can help on the Pam situation.
Panned.
Pammed.
All the D's silent.
Son of a bitch. All right, Rye. I got something for you here. You got a question?
Y'all ready for bisque?
Topic du jour time.
Oh, what's the question?
Well, I'm glad you asked because it's the topic of the day. And today it is Star Wars Tales of the Jedi. It's an animated series. It was just 6 episodes on Disney Plus. Each episode is under 20 minutes. I mean, it really goes from like 12, 13 to like 17. This thing hummed by, as you say. Dave Filoni, really the head honcho of Star Wars. He wrote every episode except for the 3rd one. So 5 out of 6 was written by Dave Filoni. And
it's like play a fun little game. Watch how many times Dave Filoni's name shows up in the credits. It's obnoxious. Like
couple times. Yeah, he's got his hands a bit in this, but we are in good hands with Dave Filoni. Yeah. We're gonna begin as we always do with our TV and movie reviews, spoiler free. Tales of the Jedi. Ryan, did you like it?
I did. I liked a fair amount. And one of the things that's really great about this show, and I demand that every show we review does this from now on. So scoring this, I did a little bit differently, and I'll walk you through that. But I would say generally to answer your question, yes, I did enjoy this for the most part.
Yeah, so did I. The first episode, in my opinion, was the weakest. And so after the first episode, I was like, all right, well, maybe this will just be fine, but I'm okay. Like, I love Star Wars shit. I'll watch even the bad Star Wars stuff I watch. And I'm like, we'll see how it goes. And then every episode after the first one was good. And none of them were possibly long enough to drag, right? Like, we're talking about how quick it is. It's kind of a cool formula, something different. And I'm also a massive fan of both Clone Wars and Rebels. We've talked about Clone Wars on this podcast. We did one sort of like an overarching Clone Wars, and then we did the final season. You can check the archives on that. We haven't talked about Rebels as much, but those shows are both great. The tricky thing about those shows is there is a lot of like filler, right? Because there's so many episodes that they're not all amazing. But I would argue the best Clone Wars stuff is some of the best stuff in all of Star Wars.
When it's good, I mean, the way Filoni did it, if I remember, there's like 3-4 episode runs.
Yeah, they do like mini, like
there's like arcs. What they call them? Yeah, and some of those are so fucking good. Like all the stuff with, am I thinking like Maul?
Yeah,
like all that stuff is so
awesome. Good. Ahsoka Tano stuff is great. Some of the Mandalore stuff is good. Like. Really good. And then even the final season's pretty solid. And like obviously everything takes place between episode 2 and 3, and then some of it like runs right into and overlaps with 3. And so one of the big takeaways I have too from like Tales of the Jedi, Clone Wars, Rebels, Andor, which we're going to talk about next week, and Rogue One, is all of this like prequel era time stuff is so good, except for the actual prequels. Like they've all like made up for how shitty. But what Filoni did was he tried to like pluck out some of the few positives from that, maybe add a couple of other characters, and then tell these stories around it, even though those at the time and still aren't good movies at all.
No, but so like you said, I mean, he latched onto these 2, 3, I would say these handful of ideas and expounded upon them. And so characters that you didn't necessarily like or understand, now you kind of get it, like the motivate. And so this show actually did a pretty good job fleshing out like 2 characters, which I was very happy with.
Yeah, definitely. And for people that don't watch Clone Wars or Rebels or this show, and you watch like The Mandalorian, you're starting to see some of those cartoon characters brought into live action. So that's where you get like Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano and like Cad Bane, and like you're getting these badass characters that are animated, and they're putting them in The Mandalorian, and who knows who's next. Like the whole Darksaber thing, we got that in Rebels. So I don't know.
They got to bring Cad Bane back. Cad Bane has to come back.
I fucking hope so. That guy was so good. That would have been a waste if they got rid of him.
That was the best reveal in all of Boba Fett. I think I like the thing where like Leonardo DiCaprio, the meme, like he like pointed at the screen. Yeah.
That was so cool. Yeah, that Boba Fett was all over the place. Like the highs of the highest on that show, and then just like some turd sandwiches also in there as well. But as Davey said, it's 6 episodes, but it really just highlights 2 characters and it kind of ping pongs a little bit. It's Ahsoka Tano and Count Dooku. And I didn't realize I needed as much Count Dooku stuff as I did. Count Dooku, to me, like in the prequels, you're like, kind of like whatever. Like
that's a bad guy.
It's a bad guy.
Dump him, girl. That's a bad. But like now, like this is the shit that I love. And again, I keep talking about like he kind of has a point.
Yeah, no, he definitely does, and that I think all of the Siths or like all of like the dark side guys had like a point or whatever, and that was one that wasn't as flushed out, right? Like the most recent trio, you get a lot about Ben Solo / Kylo Ren, the original trilogy, actually the original trilogy and the prequels, it's Anakin and Darth Vader, but like Count Dooku was just kind of like tossed in there in the prequels for you, and then this highlights way more of like where he's coming from and all his motivations.
And it was funny because as I was watching this, I was reminded of, and like I always go to like, how are people going to hate on this, and how are people going to like make this? It is a little on the nose, like politically. There are times where you're like, I see what you did. I see what you did there. I'm here for it, so keep it going, because I don't know if it was Dave Filoni or George Lucas when they were talking about like how Star Wars is becoming like political.
Yeah.
And one of them was like, have you seen fucking Star Wars?
Yeah, I was gonna say
that's the whole fucking point of it.
Yeah.
So like the whole thing's fucking political.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, and you can argue whether or not you want like a ton of like Senate meetings, but like overall, like the themes of it, the fucking Emperor, right?
Yeah.
Got it. So are there other characters in the Star Wars universe that you would love to see them do this same treatment for?
Yes. I would love to see, so if we're just talking Jedi, like if we're just talking Jedi, you know, like those like lesser known Jedi, I think would be really cool. So we'll get into spoilers, but there's like one character in particular that I was fascinated with for a reason you might not, but and I want to see more of that and like how that happened, but I'll get into that in a little bit. But like lesser Jedi or like mercenaries, like I would love to see just like a mercenary show.
Yeah.
Or even like a Jabba the Hutt show.
Yeah, the Hutts. I mean, they have a lot of characters that you could kind of tie it in. And then I like the way they do it where it either takes place right before a movie or sometimes it kind of lines up with a movie and it just gives you a little bit more. It's sort of how like some comic books will come out right before a movie comes out. And it's like, you don't have to have read it to enjoy the movie, but like it gives you a little bit more background on some of the characters. So,
and not to tip the hand, but like, this is what Andor is doing so well right now too, is it's like, finding that little cracks to slip into and live there.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's still, even though I know they leaned into him, he's not like a minor character at all, but maybe more Kylo Ren, Ben Solo stuff. If you wanted to do animated stuff during the Rise of Skywalker, Force Awakens trilogy, you do stuff with him.
Or wild enough, why don't we go at the end of Rise of Skywalker and New Jedi Order? Like we just pick up where we left off. Like,
you do that
with Rey and whoever,
Or that fucking little kid at the end of Last Jedi that was like holding up the thing. You get him out there. You learn more about that guy. But like we mentioned Cad Bane before. I know he's not a Jedi, but just more Cad Bane, like more
Cad Bane.
Yeah.
I would watch a Cad Bane live action show several times over.
Oh yeah. Big time. And I mean, we're getting the Ahsoka Tano live action standalone show with Rosario Dawson. We are getting
maybe he shows up in that.
Fuck, why not?
Who gives a shit, right?
That'd be fucking cool as shit. All right, let's see. What would you call this a must watch? I mean, I think for Star Wars fans it is.
Oh yeah. But if you're a casual Star Wars fan, I wouldn't say this is something you absolutely have to see.
Probably not.
Yeah.
What is your #DORK score?
Glad you asked, Rich, because I would need every show to be 6 episodes because I can do like a +1, -1.
Yeah, good point. It's way easier to do it with something like this.
That episode -1. This episode +1, +1. So I have it at a 4.
Okay. Yeah, I can
5,
understand.
if you said 5 and we
Yeah.
split the difference and our aggregate score is a 4.5, that's exactly where it needs to be.
Yeah, it's tough because I am going to go 5. I'm going to give this one a 5. Davey's going with a 4. I think certainly both are fair. It is difficult. Like we normally do 1.5 to 2.5 hour movies, or we
Mhm.
do series that give you like 8+ hours. So
Right.
the fact that this was a series, but it was also all in less than 2 hours, it's a tricky thing to sort of assess. But really, to me, besides the first episode, they were all great. Like I really, really enjoyed them, and I don't mind the animation style, like this kind of Clone Wars-y animation style. I think it takes you a second to like take in like the faces and like that animation.
You know what kills me is people running.
Yeah.
Weird
Yeah,
running.
you have to get used to that.
Yeah.
You got to get used to that. The like the scenes of like the city and stuff though, I think are pretty cool, and like how they make like the world look. Ryan in the chat says he'd love to see some Quinlan Voss or Asajj Ventress. Asajj Ventress is sick from Clone
Asajj
Wars.
Ventress is sick, and I think she's going to be in Ahsoka, right?
Well, I
Dead?
doubt it. Yeah, she's dead.
So there's someone playing it's like a big name actress who's in Ahsoka.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead is in it,
Yes.
but I believe she's playing somebody else. It's
Okay.
not her. I think people were like hoping it would be her, and you never know. I mean, Star Wars is similar to comic books. Actually, there is comic books of Star Wars, so like you can bring people in and out.
And like that whole like I love the idea of like this for whatever reason I keep going when I said the Huts, like this underground criminal syndicate that I think would be kind of cool.
Well, that's why Darth Maul was so goddamn cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like
with the Crimson Dawn and yeah.
That stuff was sick.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of like the just Dathomir was so badass, like all that stuff. So yeah, I love it. Or Kit Fisto would be another cool.
Kit Fisto or Plo Koon. My dude, he dies, but
there you go. You got to go prequel. You got to go earlier. Let me know how he got in there. How he's doing his shit. So anything else non-spoiler on this?
No, we're good there.
Spoilers! Here come the spoilers!
All right, episode 1 was called Life and Death, and this one is really, really young Ahsoka Tano. She is born. Her mom brings her on a hunt when she's like a year old. This crazy animal like kidnaps Ahsoka Tano.
Some saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah. And Star Wars is good with their creatures. They got all kinds of different creatures. And then they eventually like realize she's a Jedi, and it's like kind of it. And that, again, to me, the most underwhelming episode. I love Ahsoka Tano, probably my favorite character in the Star Wars universe. This was just sort of like, all right, you get to spend a little bit of time with her as like a baby, but kind of didn't need this episode.
No, she baby of the year, obviously for
no doubt
that animal, but like, okay.
What else you got? Yeah. That didn't really need it. It's whatever. Episode 2 is called Justice, and this one takes place prior to episode 1, Phantom Menace. This is like forever ago, where you have Jedi Master Dooku and his Padawan Qui-Gon Jinn. So
who sounded exactly like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, watch it again. He sounds just like it's odd.
Yeah.
Whoever the voice actor is might have gotten them confused.
Well, it's funny. The voice actor, so they had the young Qui-Gon Jinn, and then when Qui-Gon comes back, we get to him later. Then Liam Neeson comes in and does that one. But this was a different one. So this is young, like no beard, Qui-Gon and Dooku, and it's a pretty good story where like a senator's son has been kidnapped. So Dooku and Qui-Gon Jinn are gonna go figure this shit out. Turns out the senator is a fucking asshole. And like the people all is like a group kidnapped the son. The son's actually a good kid. And then you end up getting like Dooku and Qui-Gon Jinn taking on this senator. And like the senator's like, fuck you. Like, give me my kid. Like, we're out of here. and then they get into a whole back and forth. And Dooku's gonna kill the senator. Like that's the big takeaway here. He's gonna choke him to death. He like stuffs Qui-Gon. Like Qui-Gon tries to stop him. He force tosses him away. Qui-Gon goes and grabs the senator's kid. They go out there and kind of save him, get him to stop. But this is one where you start to learn a lot more about Count Dooku, about how he wants to do the right thing, but he doesn't necessarily going to do it the way that like Yoda taught you to do it.
No, and I think this is where, and when I said like the politics of this were like a little on the nose, there's some lines in this that where the guy's like, he's been a senator for far too long. Like he's taking advantage of us and he's using it to like profit. And it's like, and then Qui-Gon says something like along the lines like, well, why don't you just vote him out then? And the guy was like, well, that's not really how it works. You know what I mean? So like in my mind, I'm like, all right, I see. Okay. Like I see what you're doing. This is fantasy. Like, so I was like, that took me out of it a little bit, but I like you said, I do like this. And you see Dooku again in the later episodes too, and I see him as like this kind of like gray Jedi at this point, where he's using Sith tactics in order to, where diplomacy kind of fails, where the Jedi are kind of like going, we're just going to talk, we're just going to investigate this, we're not going to do anything. And he's like, no, fuck that. Like this guy is an asshole, and I'm going to choke the shit out of him.
Yeah. So again, like because we sort of saw this with Anakin, and then they kind of like, just based on the prequel movies, they kind of like shoehorn it a little bit. Maybe it's not done perfectly, but with Dooku, you don't really know what his motivations are. And you just kind of know from the prequels that he was a Jedi, and then clearly he got brought over by Darth Sidious, and now he's a bad guy. But
it's funny because So it's funny because like it's the audio. So it's funny because like he just wants, when you think of the Emperor, like that's the guy who wants power. He wants power over everybody. Dooku wants just order. He just wants people to fucking behave themselves. And it doesn't matter who. From the lowest of the low to the highest of the high, like you should behave a certain way. And there's like action there. And he wants action, and no one's fucking doing anything.
No. Yeah, and then like it's not the way he thinks it's gonna get done. And that's why like in comics, like my favorite characters are fucking Batman, Red Hood, Green Arrow, Punisher, Deadpool. They're like, we're gonna fucking get it done. Now, Batman's not gonna kill you, but still, he's a vigilante. Like he's doing shit on his own. He's gonna squash stuff and get it done. And I think it's that middle ground where they're Jedi before they turn to the dark side. That's some of the best stuff. And another reason why Ahsoka Tano is my favorite character is because she's like the only one that realized that both sides are fucking wrong.
Yes.
Like the Jedi probably aren't doing it right. The dark side's definitely not doing it right. But so she's like, I'm not going to be a part of either one. But even though I have those skills and I can do all that shit, but like Dooku just ends up going the other way, and Kylo, like all those guys end up going the other way. But this one's good because this is early on, and you're seeing how Dooku, why he'd be frustrated, why he'd get swayed over. So solid episode. Episode 3 is called Choices, and this is an episode where you get Count Dooku working with Mace Windu. Get a first look at Mace Windu, and they're investigating the death of a fellow Jedi, Master Katri. And again, similar style where Count Dooku's like, we need to get this information. He's not going to fuck around. He's going to go get the information. Whereas Mace Windu's like, well, that's not really how we do things. And
fuck how you do it. Like, this is how it's going to get done.
Yeah, right. He's like, you're not getting the results. He's like, so now this is sticking up for a fellow Jedi who has died, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on there.
And there's some good detective work in this, and some good saber work.
Yeah, good sabers. You get Mace Windu's purple saber, and they're investigating this. You also get the Jedi funeral, like a little Jedi funeral scene. So Yoda pops up. Kiadi Mundi, the guy that looks like a fucking wizard, that guy's there.
Yeah, with like the really big head. He looks like one of the things from Neverending Story.
Yeah. And then Tara, I think it's Tara Sanubi. He's in the Clone Wars. Like there's an episode where Ahsoka Tano like loses her lightsaber. He's the guy that's got like the really long, like I don't even know what he looks like. He looks almost like an alligator, but with like a fucking like with a crazy haircut. That guy.
Yeah.
He's as well. But basically like they find out like who did it and all this other shit, and that Master Katri was on the Jedi Council, and so they had to replace her, and so Mace Windu ends up getting that spot over Count Dooku because they're like, this guy's too fucking violent, he's too aggressive, so we're going with Mace Windu. But to me, this really highlights the turn of Count Dooku. Back-to-back episodes, right? The first one where it's like he doesn't like how shit's getting done and he's too violent. Then this one where he gets leapfrogged for the council. So in a way, it is kind of Anakin Skywalker playbook, right? Like they said you're too young for the council, and then he was afraid that Padme was gonna die and all that shit. So but again, I like Count Dooku way more now than I did just from the live action movies. Episode 4, the Sith Lord. This takes place during episode 1, Phantom Menace.
Yes.
And this is where you get some of that stuff that we get a lot in episode 2 as well, where you find out that Count Dooku knew that Master Sifo Dyas had the clones going on Kamino, and he goes in there and like deletes the files from that. Like this guy's like, we need to create a clone army, and then like they're like, dude, we don't need a clone army. But then Dooku's like, yeah, it's not a bad idea, and then kind of deletes the files, deletes the location, does all that shit.
Yeah, and like the arc is like that planet doesn't like exist anymore.
Yeah,
in terms of their records. And this is where this is where I was fascinated with Yaddle. Yaddle speaks.
Yaddle.
Yeah. And I am interested because people said she talks normally.
Yeah.
Doesn't talk like Yoda. And there was, I guess it's canon. So whoever trained Yoda was like this really weird, like swamp creature. And that's how he talked. So Yoda talks that way as like a tribute to his master. So that's a story now that I would love to see, is the training of and the upbringing of Yoda, and like how long that took.
That'd be pretty cool.
It would get annoying that the two of them talking like that. If Yoda was speaking normally, and then when he was done, like he took on that voice, but
they're like, well, somebody was saying they're like, so Yoda's basically just an asshole because you don't have to talk that way because
he doesn't have to talk like that. Yeah,
Yaddle also is voiced by Bryce Dallas Howard in this episode.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so this episode's cool too because you get Qui-Gon Jinn, and again, it's from episode 1, so it's sort of like the movie that we've all seen, and then it's just sort of the stuff that we don't see that's going on at that same time. Yep. And so he talks to Count Dooku about Obi-Wan Kenobi. He also talks to him about how he saw a Sith Lord on Tatooine. And everybody's like, the fuck that. Like, there are no Sith Lords or whatever. Like, you didn't see one. He's like, I'm pretty sure I saw one, guy. I'm
sure about that.
Sure
about that. That's why.
So Yaddle finds out, or actually sees Dooku and Darth Sidious talking to each other and fucking confronts them. And then Sidious is like, oh, have I been set up? And Dooku's like, no, you haven't. And then Yaddle tries to like talk him out of it. A fucking big fight ensues. Yaddle's a badass, by the way. Yaddle doesn't fuck around, but Sidious is like, you got to do it. And then fucking Count Dooku murders Yaddle.
And that's the point of no return, I think, for him. And where it's like, because he says, what does he say? Like, oh, this whole thing, order won't bring you peace. And he says something to the fact like, well, I can give you peace right now. And then kills her.
Fucking killed Yaddle, dude.
Fucking killed Yaddle. Fucking coward. She was already beaten. He'll let her go.
So
no, probably not. But
that was a heartbreak. But also, again, like, leave it to Filoni to go in there and like clean up all these messes. And so Yaddle's on the Jedi Council in episode 1, and then is not there in episode 2 or 3.
Never see her again. Yep.
So it's like, what the fuck happened? Everybody's been banging down the doors, being like, "Where's Yaddle?
What happened to Yaddle?" Yeah.
Well, so
this
to me, it just completely like strengthens the character of Count Dooku, who, oh, by the way, is also pissed off that Qui-Gon Jinn died, and he's talking to Sid. He's like, he could have been you didn't have to fucking kill him. So he's mad. So now Qui-Gon Jinn's dead. He's pissed about that. So there's a relationship there. He's
also pissed that like no one believed him. Like I told you they were fucking Sith, and no one believed me. No one did anything.
Yes. Yeah, they didn't believe him. They skipped him over on the Jedi Council, and at that point, he's forced to fucking kill Yaddle.
And I think, this is where I get it, where you're like, well, fuck. I mean, you're not going to listen to me. This guy's listening to me. this guy's helping me. Like, you don't give a shit about like what and so I get that psychologically, like how that could be manipulated. So that was actually a kind of a cool little piece of writing there.
Good question from Mitch. Actually, not even a question, more of a statement. Mitch says Yoda and Yaddle definitely banged at one point.
I think their version of banging, where it's like, remember what movie was it? Oh, Coneheads, when they do the thing where they put the rings on, they like touch hands. Like, it was probably like that. Let's not be gross.
You don't think that Yoda and Yaddle? Well, then there'd be kids out there somewhere. Actually, this was. I don't know if you got this version. This was a deleted scene from episode 4.5. It was Yoda and Yaddle having sex.
I'm gonna freaking explode inside you. I'm gonna spill it. I'm gonna fill you up.
I'm gonna fill you up. What? I'm gonna fill you up.
Just let me do this. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna do it.
That was Yaddle.
Spill it. I am going to.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But yeah, fucking Yaddle. Yaddle was at least Yaddle went out on a high note, like just a complete badass, and rather than just be like, oh, that's they have a Jedi that looks like Yoda. It's like, no, she kicks ass too. She kicks ass too. So that was the end. So that was episode 2, 3, and 4 was the Count Dooku thing. I think those were the strongest. As much as I love Ahsoka Tano, I think the episodes were just really, really strong. That was the highlight.
Disagree there.
Okay. Episode 5 is called Practice Makes Perfect. Again, an Ahsoka Tano episode where she's like doing some training, and then Anakin's like, no, that training's shit. Like, you need to actually do this and go up against Captain Rex and a bunch of these clones in the clone army, and they train her, and it's just like she just takes an absolute beating. But what you do get from this is Anakin really trained her to survive. And so when Order 66 happens, and we see that in Clone Wars, another reason to watch the last season of Clone Wars, we see that, but it's why it's believable that Ahsoka Tano is able to survive that.
And so in my head, like the way I watched this one is he saved her life. Like there was a time where he knew that was coming. You got to think that, like, did he know?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. Like, at that point, did he know that? I don't know.
Because he has this, he can see things, right? Yeah. He's got like so did he know something like that? And he's like, he says, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, well, this is what every Jedi does. And he's like, that's the problem. He's like, they train against fucking droids. And it's not going to, if someone's going to get you, it's not going to be droids. If droids are predictable, droids are easy. If you're going to got, it's going to be a clone or a person. He's like, so you have to do it this way. So in that sense, because if you think about outside of his kids who he didn't know existed, right, for long, Padme and Ahsoka are the only two people he gave a shit about.
Yeah.
And his mom. After
maybe Obi-Wan.
Even at the end, like,
like
a brotherly, like, and I don't think Obi-Wan really gave a shit about him. And that's like the
they had a weird
Obi-Wan's character. Yeah,
they had a weird relationship.
But you can see that, like, there was like this tough love aspect to it. But this is my favorite episode of this series for that reason. It's like, because he says the way he delivers the line, he says, I want you to be prepared. You. Mm-hmm. And he like emphasizes you. Like, I don't give a shit about any of these other people. Like, I need you to be prepared for this.
Yeah.
And there was that whole scene, and that the way that it ends with Rex bringing her in, he said, let's see if all that training paid off.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this, again, for people that haven't seen Clone Wars, if you like this episode, one of the highlights of Clone Wars is just the Anakin Ahsoka relationship. It is kind of like, it is like tough love, right? It's like that coach that knows you got to kind of push her. Like, he's doing that throughout the entire series. And that's why she's so fucking badass. That's why she's so good too. Episode 6 is called Resolve, and so this one lines up with the movies. This is right after Padme's death. You
Yep.
get a funeral. Bail Organa is in this one. He's talking to Ahsoka Tano, and then she ends up going into hiding.
Yep.
And in this episode, it kind of reminded me a little bit of one of the Obi-Wan Kenobi episodes when he like takes up like that random job. Like it's
Yes.
kind of like that. And so she goes to like a farm. She ends up saving somebody. Somebody like realizes like, oh shit, she's a Jedi. It's a whole thing. The brother's a little shit bum. He calls in. He's like, yeah, we got a Jedi here. So an Inquisitor, and this one's a badass looking dude.
Reaper from Overwatch shows up.
100%. Oh, that mask and voice, like he was a cool one. He comes there, and believe it or not, he doesn't just show up there and try to take the Jedi and leave. He like burns the fucker to the ground. He like torches the village. He's gonna kill everybody. And then Ahsoka Tano shows up and beats some ass and destroys the Inquisitor, who was a pretty cool looking dude, pretty cool looking character. But this one just shows you again sort of the power and strength of Ahsoka Tano.
Yes, and one of the unintentionally funny things about this episode is to get the remaining people from this village out of there, because she said they're going to come back. They're going to keep coming until they knowing what just happened.
Yeah.
She calls Bail Organa, who comes and picks these people up and assuming takes them to Alderaan.
Yeah, don't go there.
They die. If they go to Alderaan, they're dead anyway. So much for that.
Maybe they went on vacation or they left. Yeah, that wouldn't have been great. But she saved him at least for the time being.
For the time being, yeah.
Even though the kid, that kid deserved it. He was an asshole.
Yeah, fuck that kid, fucking rat.
Fucking asshole.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is Tales of the Jedi. Pretty solid stuff, and two good characters to sort of jump in on, I would say, as well.
Do you want more of this?
I do. Now, I definitely want more seasons of this. I don't think you have to use these two characters, right? Like, I think you've sort of told their stories. Plus, you're getting the live action of Ahsoka Tano, so I don't think you need to do that at all.
I'd love to see some Mace Windu stuff.
Mace Windu, it would be fine. Like, yeah, some of those other like Jedi Council people that like we just kind of see, like you already have them. You can tap into that any way you want.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be on board with that. Upcoming TV shows. I believe the next one we're gonna get, I think, is The Mandalorian season 3, and then I think we're gonna get Ahsoka. I believe that's how it goes.
Are we doing another season of Boba, right?
I don't know if it got picked up for another season. I don't know.
I thought they said it. I thought they said it did.
I know Mandalorian, I think, already got picked up for a season 4, so they're gonna have 3 and 4.
Perfect.
And there's a show called Skeleton Crew, and then there's the show called The Acolyte. But I think
The Acolyte, yeah,
those are like way off. And there might be a Lando show, maybe.
So there's also rumors that canon characters like Ahsoka are going to show up in, I forget the name of it, but like the Fallen Order 2.
Oh yeah, I think is there some like video game awards or something coming up? Like I think there's gonna be they said there's gonna be an announcement on like Star Wars Jedi Survivor or whatever the fuck
Survivor,
it's called.
Jedi Survivor.
Right.
Yeah. That's Fallen Order 2, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a game that has been phenomenally upgraded for PlayStation 5. If you haven't played that yet, and it's fucking great.
Very good.
And so I would love to see some Cal Kestis.
Yes.
That actor, it's the kid who played. He was one of the Jokers in Gotham, and he was in what's that fucking show? Is on show Shameless. Yeah. And he's great. He's great.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
Awesome character.
I could do it. I could do it for sure. All right, very good. Yes, Mitch again in the chat. Do you think Mace Windu's really dead?
Yeah,
I think so too. But they technically could.
They would have brought him back because I think Rey hears his voice.
Oh yeah, at the end, right? Yeah, because doesn't she also hear? She hears Ahsoka Tano's voice too. Yeah. I think. That Ahsoka's gonna live forever.
Yeah, I know. No, she's in there too. So
But like again, yeah, you're right. So because of that, that's a good point. But like after episode 1, you're like, oh, Darth Maul's definitely dead, and then thank God Filoni saved him because some of the shit that he has in the Clone Wars and Rebels is some of the best stuff going. So
Oh, you remember when he showed up in fucking Solo?
yeah,
So good.
yeah, that was the best part of the movie. It really was.
I disagree. I like that movie.
I didn't care for it. Didn't
Donald
care
Glover
for
was
it.
great. Young Lando was great.
Yeah, Lando was good. Han Solo wasn't. It's sort of the main character. That to me was a problem. But
Yeah.
all right, anything else? Tales of the Jedi.
No, it's good shit, man. Good
All right,
shit.
very good.
Pick of the bomb.
Pick of the bomb.
Pick of the bomb.
Pick of the pod.
All right, would you like to kick, receive, defer, or you may choose at this time to defend a goal?
I'll take the ball this time because I missed last week, and I'm sorry I couldn't be here. It was a bit of a shit show. If anyone who's ever moved, in the time we've been doing Dork podcast, I think I've moved. How long have we been doing this? 6 years?
Yeah, 2015, so maybe 7 years.
I think I've moved 5 times in 7 years.
Jesus, age.
I think I'm done. I think I'm done for a while.
I hope so.
But I wasn't here last week, so I do want to think we did surpass our Movember goal by $1,300. I always put like a $2,000 goal, thinking that like it's gonna come down to the wire and like all of these things. But like the people who donate and the people who are part of this community never ever cease to amaze me, and I cannot express to you. Spite bucks being what they are, but this is way more meaningful.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm on my phone. If I had any working internet, I would mention you by name. But please know there were some $1,000,
Awesome.
$500, Rich Keefe with $100. So there was a lot of people who went above and beyond. I can't thank you enough. So we still have 2 weeks to go. If you haven't donated yet, that's a very worthy cause. So thank you guys so much. Means the world to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so,
and I should have saved this, by the way. I should have saved this for should I have bought this? Ready?
Yeah. Oh, is that a stamp? So Davey has what appears to be a stamp that has his face on it, and it says Davey approved.
It is a literal stamp of approval.
You put that on your when you grade papers?
Absolutely.
That's pretty
I
great.
want to get one of me just like this, like
yeah, right. The opposite
in red. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. I didn't
$20 out the door.
What?
That's fucking great. Yeah.
Oh my god, doesn't even qualify for should I have bought this. That's a steal. You stole that fucker. Nice. I mentioned this on the podcast a while ago. I have had a chance to see it now on Paramount Plus. Smile, the horror movie Smile, is available there. Pretty good, pretty creepy. I would say good chance to be nominated for Dorky for horror movie of the year. Not as good as Barbarian, so
not as good as Halloween Ends.
Yes, it's much better than that.
Yeah.
There's been a decent amount of horror movies this year, and Smile was pretty creepy. Like it's a good idea because when somebody gives you a smile, but it's like a weird smile, it's as scary a face as there is. I know that Joker does it, but like it's a pretty good idea to tap into.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, when you think of Joker like laughing, like someone laughing at you,
true,
creepily is not fucking great. That's not great.
I don't like that. I don't like why you're doing that. Don't do that. And then this is just weird smiling and with the eyes and everything else. And then I don't want to. I think if I told you the 2 movies it reminds me of, it's kind of a spoiler. So I'll keep that under my hat until you see it. But there's a couple of movies that, at least from one of them, I know that you like. So I think you would like this one too.
I think I know the movie, and I'm not going to say it. So it gives me this vibes. Can I say it? Is it a spoiler?
Do you want to be spoiled?
It's giving me a lot of like It Follows vibe.
That was 100% the movie I was thinking of. Yeah.
I like that movie. So
yeah, I mean it's different, but it's like as you're watching it, you're like, oh, if you like that, you'd probably like this.
Just from the commercials, that's the vibe it was giving me. Yeah.
Very good. Next week, Andor. Super excited to talk about Andor. It's the most talked about TV show recently, and maybe a bit of a surprise as well.
Andor what? Or what are we doing? See what I did?
Yeah. We could do favorite pies.
Andor.
Andor. Okay. Andor.
And DORK.
Cassian Andor. It's the show we're going to be discussing next week as episode 12. The season finale comes out this Wednesday.
It's a long one too, I heard.
Oh, that's okay, because these ones have all been pretty, 45 minutes or so?
45 minutes. I think this one's we're pushing an hour with this one, I think. So I'm cool with that.
I'm good with that also.
Mhm.
So I'm looking forward to that. And everybody out there, have a happy Thanksgiving. Assuming you're listening to this before Thanksgiving, maybe you're on your way. Maybe you're having a long journey somewhere and you need to listen to podcasts and you're
A
listening
nice
to
sojourn.
maybe we help get you there a little bit. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We'll be back next week. You can follow us on all at Dork Podcasts everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and email in your should I have bought this. It is the holiday season, dorkpodcast@gmail.com. So buy yourself something nice, and then we'll tell you whether or not you should have bought that. Simple as that. Davey, you don't give a shit about anything, do you?
What'd you say?
I said you don't give a shit about anything, do you?
Not really.